very first fully battery-powered Lexus, the UX300e, rewards a thoughtful buyer prepared to think a little more laterally. In the segment for fully electric compact to mid-sized SUVs, there are cheaper options than this one, some of which offer greater driving range. But this Lexus has other attributes which might well draw you to it, including admirably few compromises in terms of interior packaging, plus a very high-quality feel. It's rather surprising that until the launch of this car, the UX300e, we'd never seen a full electric Lexus. After 15 years of market leadership in making electrified hybrid cars, this is the brand's first full EV. At the time of this model's launch in early 2021, we'd yet to see the marque's parent company, Toyota, launch an EV either, though the UX300e is actually based on a full electric version of the Toyota CHR that's on sale in China. Now this will of course be the first of many Lexus and Toyota electric cars. Toyota will be rolling out its BZ range of EV models over the next few years, all of which will have the properly dedicated BEV platform that this UX300e lacks, a chassis that will of course be shared with forthcoming EV Lexuses. But for the time being, we have this car, which sits on the same GAC platform as the ordinary self-charging hybrid UX models. There's only one 54.35 kWh battery option available, and its driving range isn't especially eye-catching. But for the right kind of customer, a number of aspects of this car's ownership proposition might be. Let's take a look. You might have expected a groundbreaking feel from the Toyota Motor Corporation's very first global EV. Instead, the experience here from the off isn't much different to what you get in a regular UX250h self-charging hybrid, though here there's no handbrake to release. You press the big start button, get a little green ready light appearing in the instrument cluster, then after a quick display of sci-fi graphics from the two drive screens, you're ready to go. This is one of those EVs sensibly engineered with a linear feeling throttle, engineered in this case by two expert Lexus Takumi drivers. So the car doesn't lunge forward when you brush the throttle pedal. Well, it's hardly slow off the mark, 62 miles an hour from rest, taking only 7.5 seconds. There's no all-wheel drive option like there is on a UX250h. So here, a single 201 brake horsepower e-motor propels the front wheels, powered by a 54.35 kWh battery pack. That lithium-ion package is similar in size to the starting point battery you'd get fitted to most, though not all, direct EV crossover rivals at this price point. But it won't take you as far. The claimed WLTP rated figure is 196 miles. Think more like 160 to 170 miles in the real world, though at least that reading doesn't fall like a stone at highway cruising speeds like it tends to do in a Tesla. You will quickly through it though if you engage the provided red-themed sport mode with any regularity. Better to limit yourself to the normal and eco settings options. Though perhaps that would be a pity. Fun, after all, was apparently on Chief Engineer Takashi Watanabe's list of priorities in developing this car, building on its fundamentally low centre of gravity, an attribute delivered by the GAC platform this UX shares with its conventional counterparts. And, by the way, that the battery is located beneath the body and the electric motor is set low in the engine bay. Mindful of the way that the all-at-once nature of EV power delivery tends to corrupt combustion-orientated suspension and steering setups, Watanabe and his team decided that they would redevelop both those elements from scratch for the UX300e. As a result, both borrow from the advanced posture control package originally developed for the Lexus LF30 electrified concept car, which means new shock absorbers aimed at maintaining vehicle posture during rapid acceleration, and the addition of a reinforcement brace for the steering gearbox on the front suspension member, which is supposed to improve steering feel. On top of that, extra chassis rigidity was achieved by an angular frame construction and strengthened transaxle mounting for the GAC platform. Now, I don't doubt that all these changes have made a difference. Simply installing a powerful battery pack in place of the UX250H hybrid powertrain would have led to a somewhat wayward end result in terms of handling prowess. I would question, though, whether enough of a difference has been made here. Torque steer, that feeling of the steering wheel writhing in your hands during rapid acceleration, is more evident in this EV than in some of its rivals. And even in the dry, this Lexus struggles to transmit all its torque to the tarmac quite as quickly as sometimes you might like. Steering feel is still a bit vague, and the ride, which is okay over poor surfaces on the 17-inch rims, but not so good on the 18-inch wheels, can get a bit floaty if you start trying to throw the thing about a bit. Which, of course, is the sort of thing a typical UX300e owner would virtually never do. He or she would instead have chosen this car in order to enjoy a super-sized serving of Lexus luxury, which is delivered courtesy of the exceptional efforts the brand has gone to in order to perfect refinement. Every EV is quiet, of course, but often the absence of a combustion din merely serves to emphasise failings in terms of wind and tyre roar. The engineers have made sure that the thickness and weight of the battery pack beneath the cabin floor will act as a sound insulating barrier, and they've installed undercovers and wing liners to reduce the noise generated by small stones, dirt, water and the road surface. Plus, there are specially developed low rolling resistance eco-branded Dunlop tyres, and acoustic window glass reduces high frequency noise. They concentrated on necessary noise too, or most of it anyway. Rather disappointingly, the sci-fi style low whistling sound this car develops at pedestrian speeds is much like any other EV, but you don't hear it in the cabin because of what the brand calls active noise control. Here, an acceleration sensitive BEV sound, apparently created by a professional music composer, is broadcast through the audio system's central speaker. It's not particularly noticeable, but you can turn it off if you don't like it. As usual on a battery-powered vehicle, the other main EV feature that you can fiddle with is regenerative braking, which you increase either by engaging the extra B setting available from the bespoke drive-by-wire auto gear lever, or by pulling on the left-hand gear shift paddle, which annoyingly you keep having to do every time you want to increase the regeneration level, rather than the system remembering your preferred setting during any given journey. What else? Well, there's a best in segment 5.2 metre curb-to-curb turning circle, and though you're seated rather low at the wheel for something purporting to be an SUV, overall forward visibility from the steering wheel is aided by the low bonnet line that's made possible by the car's GAC platform and low-mounted drivetrain. There's no off-road prowess, of course. Attempting to venture from a paved surface in a car riding just 6 inches from the road is potentially a very unwise idea indeed. No, the UX300e knows what it is and what it isn't. And what it is, we can imagine quite a lot of EV customers in this segment rather liking. Lexus is one of those brands who believe that buyers of full EV models want their cars to look as normal as possible. So the visual changes that differentiate this UX300e model from its ordinary UX250H self-charging hybrid showroom stablemate are minimal. The front features a sleeker bumper with smaller air intakes and a subtly revised version of this model's signature spindle-shaped radiator grille featuring aerodynamic shutters which automatically open and close depending on the level of battery charge. The headlamps use single or triple projector tech according to the chosen spec, and above them, as is usual with the brand, the daytime running lights are arranged in a distinctive arrowhead shape. From the side, these lower electric badges are one of the few giveaways to this model's BEV status. Well, that and the fact that it has two filler caps, one for a Type 2 charger on the driver's side and one for a fast-charged CHAdeMO plug on the near side. Otherwise, it's the usual UX design recipe with flared front and rear wings and a shape that's one of the smaller ones in the premium badged SUV C segment, 4,495mm long and 1,520mm high, with a slightly swept-back roofline, though not enough to allow Lexus to market this as a coupe-style SUV. There's a choice of two wheel sizes, either the 17-inch rims, which feature these aero-ventilated flaps either side of the spokes, or larger 18 inches. Apart from the bespoke badge, there are no differences over the usual hybrid model here at the rear, dominated by an LED tail light blade extending the full width of the tailgate. The lamp section, in this case made up of an array of 120 LEDs and tapering in the middle to be just 3mm deep at its narrowest point. Intricate finishing of that sort is a Lexus hallmark, hence the wafer-thin shut lines and the way that the exterior surfaces have been refined to 1/100th of a millimetre tolerance, apparently pushing the boundaries of what could be produced in the body panel stamping process. The lower diffuser is marked by angular outer reflectors, and there's a wing-type spoiler at the rear edge of the roof. As usual, of course, what's more important is the stuff you can't see. This tailgate is made from composite materials, but most of the other body panels, the bonnet, the side doors and the wings, are fashioned from aluminium, all of it bolted to a high-strength GAC platform that makes extensive use of high-tensile steel. Let's take a look inside. Where specific UX 300e features are even harder to spot, limited to a bespoke drive-by-wire auto gearshift selector, branding on the floor mats and badging in the instrument cluster, where you'll also find some specific EV displays if you look hard enough. Even the central instrument gauge looks much the same as that of the ordinary hybrid model with its charge, eco and power options, though here, of course, it doesn't transform itself into a rev counter if you select the sport driving mode. That's via this little ear knob here. As with any UX, or any Lexus come to that, the interior feels really high-end, with a Japanese washi, paper-inspired dashboard featuring all kinds of interesting creases and angles, a theme which carries on into these intricately crafted door cards. Plus, there's a lovely three-spoke wheel borrowed from the LS Limo and design based around the Japanese architectural concept of Engawa, where the inside and the outside of a structure are seamlessly connected. Build quality from the Kyushu Japanese plant is faultless, and the leather seats feature the traditional oriental quilting technique of Sahiko. The area for the central infotainment screen looks like it was designed for a much larger display than the 7-inch one fitted here, alongside this little analogue clock. It was the 10.3-inch Lexus navigation setup that you only get if you pay a huge amount more for the optional Takumi pack. If you don't do that, you have to do without sat-nav, which seems extremely mean on a car costing nearly £50,000. At least the brand has finally got around to including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring with its infotainment screens, so that you can link into a navigational app. And there are the usual audio, Bluetooth and apps sections. You control this central screen with this rather maddeningly fiddly remote touchpad. Behind that, controls for the audio system stand proud of this central compartment lid. The instrument binnacle screen that I mentioned earlier has an information display to the left of the main gauge with selectable audio and safety menus, plus there's a further information menu for various specific EV functions, things like range and your current and average consumption in miles per kilowatt hour. From here you can also select a charging schedule, vary current and the charging limit, and even cool the battery. One of the things that you might want in choosing an SUV is a slightly elevated driving position. Well, you don't get that here. Your seating positioning is very family hatch-like. This makes acclimatization from a more ordinary model somewhat easier, but it also means that all-round visibility suffers, especially in a design like this one with a kicked-up rear window line. Hence, Lexus's decision to standardize a rear view camera, plus of course you get rear parking sensors. At least the seats are supportive, featuring springs and foam padding designed to disperse pressure under the sciatic area. And finding a comfortable position is easy, though we could do with a little more reach adjustment on the steering wheel. What else? Well, we also like the fact that the climate system can be operated either from the centre screen or by using this row of piano key style buttons on the centre stack. And build quality seems up to standard, with scratchy plastics relegated to areas you'll rarely touch. We're not too happy about some aspects of this UX model's cabin practicality though. The door bins are tiny, as is the glove box, room within which is nearly completely taken up by the handbook. An overhead sunglasses compartment has also been forgotten. What you do get is this storage compartment between the seats, incorporating a couple of USB ports and an aux-in point. In front of the gear lever, there are these two deeply recessed cup holders, and there's the option of adding in this wireless phone charging mat beyond that. You get ticket clip recesses in the sun visor too. Let's take a look out back. Now, the door aperture here really is rather small. Taller folk will risk banging their heads as they enter. Which might have something to do with this reprofiled rear bench. It had to be redesigned to fit the battery underneath. This change hasn't compromised rear seat space by very much, but that was pretty tight to start with, exacerbated by the fact that it's difficult to slide your feet beneath the front seats. You'd expect a car with a 2,640mm long wheelbase to offer a bit more rear passenger space than this. Ideally, you really won't want to take more than a couple of folk back here. Not only is the cabin narrow, but the central part of the seat is uncomfortably raised. If there are a couple of occupants, you'll be able to use this centre armrest, which, as you'd want, incorporates a couple of cup holders. There are twin vents, plus a couple of USB ports, but no door bins. There is one seat back pocket. We understand why this seat base can't slide, but it would have been nice if the seat back could have reclined. That's not possible either. Individual overhead reading lights are missing, but you get coat hooks in the grab handles and heat for these seats if you've avoided base spec. Let's finish with some good news. The boot is actually bigger than is the case with the UX 250h hybrid version of this car. Lift the tailgate. It's not powered unless you pay for the top Takumi pack. And a 367-litre boot is revealed, 47 litres bigger than normal, loading from deck to the rather flimsy tonneau cover. It's 486 litres if you load to the roof. There's a compartmentalised area beneath the floor for stowage of the tyre repair kit and charging leads, and you get 4 silver tie-down points and bag hooks on both cargo sidewalls. There's no ski hatch though, nor is there a 40-20-40 split seat back. The conventional 60-40 split flattens to reveal 1,278 litres of capacity, which isn't enormous, but will probably be sufficient for the needs of most likely owners. From the launch of this BEV, Lexus was asking around £44,000 for a base spec UX 300e. Add in the optional Premium Plus pack, which is what we have here, and you'd add a further £3,500 to the asking price. Or if you've no objection to this UX 300e costing you nearly £55,000, you can choose the top Takumi pack, which will add just under £10,000 to that base price asking figure. These figures are way above the £35,000 threshold for the government's plug-in car grant, so you won't get any state assistance towards purchase. Now, to give you some price perspective here, we'll tell you that at the time of this test in spring 2021, the cheapest conventional self-charging hybrid UX250H model was around £30,000, with a typically spec mid-range UX250H model pitched at £5,000 to £6,000 above that. In other words, you've got to be really committed to the full EV concept to want a UX300e. But Lexus thinks many potential customers will be, expecting that this full battery version will account for around a third of all European UX sales. The brand would like you to consider premium badged rivals to this model, but the reality is that a typical EV customer looking for a crossover in this segment will be looking at plenty of others. Obvious premium alternatives include base versions of the Audi Q4 e-tron, the Volvo XC40 Recharge Pure Electric, the Polestar 2, the Cupra Born, the Mercedes EQA and Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y, all of which list at fractionally less but might well be comparably priced to this Lexus once you equalise spec. If you're looking at a top Takumi pack spec UX300e, you might conceivably also be looking at a BMW iX3, which lists from just under £60,000. If you're seeking a crossover EV of this size and you're prepared to look beyond a premium brand, then think in terms of a starting price of around £40,000 for a Ford Mustang Mach-E, a Volkswagen ID4, a Hyundai Ioniq 5 or a Kia EV6. And you'll be paying somewhere in the £30,000 to £35,000 bracket upwards for fractionally smaller EV crossovers like the Skoda Enyaq iV, Nissan's Ariya, Hyundai's Kona Electric, the Kia Soul EV, the Vauxhall Mokka-e, the Kia e-Niro and the Peugeot e-2008. The same price bracket also covers compact hatches like the Nissan Leaf E+, the BMW i3, the Hyundai Ioniq Electric and the Citroën EC4. Now, if having considered all of this, you decide that it is a UX300e that you really want, you're going to need to know just how generous Lexus has been with the standard spec. So let's take a look. Key standard features include the bi-LED headlights with automatic high beam. There are 17-inch alloy wheels, auto headlamps and wipers, and aluminium roof rails, along with front and rear parking sensors, a reversing camera, and adaptive cruise control. Plus the Lexus Safety System Plus package of camera safety features, which we'll get to in a few moments. Inside, there are 8-way power-adjustable front seats with lumbar support, plus you get dual-zone climate control and a power-adjustable steering wheel. As mentioned earlier, you can embellish the spec of your UX300e with 2 additional extra-cost equipment packages. Here, as we said, we've got the Premium Plus pack, which includes smart keyless entry, privacy glass, a card key, and illuminated door handles with puddle lights. Inside, the Premium Plus pack adds smooth leather seat upholstery, a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated front seats, heated outer rear seats, and a wireless smartphone charger. You can add in larger 18-inch wheels too, if you're prepared to pay a little more. As for EV stuff, well, the asking price includes both 3-pin and Type 2 charging cables, the Lexus Drive Mode Select system, and active sound control. You'll also get use of the Lexus Link app, via which you can do things like schedule charging times, check battery status, remaining range and remaining charge time, remotely defrost the windows and remotely heat or cool the cabin. As mentioned earlier, you can embellish the spec of your UX300e with 2 additional extra cost equipment packages. Here, as we said, we've got the Premium Plus pack, which includes smart keyless entry, privacy glass, a card key, and illuminated door handles with puddle lights. Inside, the Premium Plus pack adds smooth leather seat upholstery, a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated front seats, heated outer rear seats, and a wireless smartphone charger. You can add in larger 18-inch wheels too, if you're prepared to pay a little more. If you want to go further, the Takumi pack adds two features a lot of UX300e customers will really want. Built-in sat-nav, included as part of a larger 10.3-inch Lexus navigation centre dash display, and a 13-speaker Mark Levinson surround sound audio system. Other things featured in the Takumi pack you might well want on this car include a power-operated tailgate with hands-free function, a 360-degree panoramic view monitor, a head-up display, an auto-dimming rear-view mirror, more sophisticated triple-eye LED headlights with an adaptive high-beam system, aluminium scuff plates, a sunroof, and 18-inch alloy wheels. Takumi spec also includes some extra camera safety features, which we'll tell you about in a moment. On to extra cost features. Your starting point here will be to get a charging wall box for your garage if you don't already have one. There's a choice of either a 7 kilowatt Centrica British gas one and a Lexus branded 22 kilowatt unit. It'd be also wise to get the longer 10 metre version of the 32 amp fast charge cable, which comes with a Lexus storage bag. What about practicalities? Well, you can add the roof crossbars that will enable you to add a roof box or a bicycle holder. There's also a protection pack with rubber floor mats, a boot liner and rear bumper protection film. Otherwise, it's mostly aesthetic stuff. You'll almost certainly be needing to pay your dealer more for your choice of paint colour, solid velvet black or Fuji red being the only shades included as standard. Various extra cost metallic shades are offered, and there are some pricier but more exclusive special metallic paint multi-layer colours offered too. We've got one of them here, Sonic Titanium. You might want to add in the optional gloss black machined or matte black 18-inch alloy wheels too. Possibly the optional style pack with front, rear and side underruns. And maybe also the design pack, which gives you trim for the side sills and the boot door in black or chrome. Aluminium scuff plates and premium textile floor mats are also available. Enough, let's move on to safety. Earlier we referenced the standard Lexus Safety System Plus pack that all UX300e models get as standard, which includes 6 camera-driven elements of safety technology. We'll start with a feature that all cars of this kind now need to have, autonomous braking. Lexus calls its setup a pre-collision system, and it works as all these kinds of setups do, scanning the road ahead in search of potential collision hazards as you drive, at speeds of between 7 and 110 miles an hour. If one is detected, you'll be warned. If you don't respond or aren't able to, the brakes will automatically be applied to decrease the severity of any resulting accident. This setup is also able to specifically identify people and will apply braking if a pedestrian is detected in front of your UX, even at night. In the daytime, it can specifically detect cyclists too. The other 5 Lexus Safety System Plus features can be quickly covered. The lane centre lane keep assist setup warns dozy drivers who've drifted out of their lanes on the highway, applying steering lock to ease the car back to where it ought to be, and working seamlessly with the adaptive cruise control system that we mentioned earlier. The steering assist lane trace assist feature helps you keep the car centred in its lane. Automatic high beam automatically dips your headlights at night, and RSA road sign assist pictures road signs on the move, displaying them on the dash. As for more conventional safety kit, as fitted to all UX models, well, pretty much everything you'd expect is present and correct. So tick off a pedestrian-friendly bonnet, ISOFIX child seat fastenings, and no fewer than 8 airbags, twin front, side and curtain bags, plus knee bags for both front seat passengers. Across the range, you'll also find a tyre pressure warning system and hill start assist control to stop you from drifting backwards on uphill junctions, and an emergency brake signal for panic stops. We also like the PKSA parking support braking system, which can automatically brake the car as part of parking manoeuvring if you're about to hit something solid or moving when you're trying to park, a low wall you haven't noticed, for instance. In addition, there are all the usual electronic driving aids for braking, traction and stability systems that in most other cars will only activate at the last minute if the situation demands it. Now in a UX, it's all done a bit more cleverly. The so-called Lexus Vehicle Dynamics Integration Management setup, coordinating everything together and taking action to correct the car just that little bit earlier. There's also an incorporated e-call system that will automatically alert the emergency services with your precise GPS location if the airbags go off in an accident. At the top of the UX300e range with the Takumi pack we mentioned earlier, Lexus also offers 2 further camera-driven safety features. A blind spot monitor works on the move to stop you from dangerously pulling out to overtake in front of another car, and a rear cross traffic alert system warns you of an approaching vehicle when you're reversing out from a space. Plus, the triple eye headlights that you get with this pack get more intelligent, adaptive high beam technology. Now, there are plenty of reasons why you might want a UX300e, but really class competitive driving range isn't one of them. This model's 54.35 kWh battery allows for a claimed 196 mile WLTP rated driving range on standard 17-inch wheels. It's 190 miles on 18-inch rims. Throughout this test, the best figure we've seen when fully charged is 186 miles, and in real-world motoring, what we've actually achieved has been closer to around 160 miles. To give you some perspective, these are the kinds of figures you could easily better in an EV super mini, like a Renault Zoe or a Peugeot E208, or in a much cheaper, and only slightly smaller, volume brand crossover like a Hyundai Kona Electric or a Kia e-Niro. It's more relevant, though, to consider how this figure stacks up against direct premium class competitors. Well, to be fair, this UX300e model's range figure isn't that far off what you can expect from what is arguably its closest rival, the Audi Q4, which in 35 e-tron 52 kWh form manages 208 miles. But most other class competitors do much better than that. A base 76 kWh Ford Mustang Mach-E returns 260 miles, while a Mercedes EQA manages 265 miles, about the same as you get from a Volkswagen ID4 with a 58 kWh battery. A base Polestar 2 with a 64 kWh battery manages 273 miles, and a BMW iX3 with an 80 kWh battery goes 285 miles. With other rivals, the range difference is even greater. A Tesla Model Y hatch, long-range model with a 75 kWh battery, rates at 314 miles. A Kia EV6 with a 77.4 kWh battery, rates at 316 miles. And a Tesla Model 3 Saloon long-range with an 82 kWh battery, rates at 348 miles. So, you get the idea. But for quite a few prospective UX300e customers, a slightly restricted range figure won't much matter. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders tells us that 94% of UK journeys are of less than 24 miles, and on that basis this Lexus will easily work as a second or third car for commuting duties. You'll need to bear in mind that, as with all EVs, the quoted range figure could drop considerably in winter weather or over long motorway journeys, though Lexus claims to have minimised that drop-off in this case, certainly in weather terms anyway, thanks to a clever battery heating system. There's a battery cooling system so that cell performance doesn't drop off in hot weather too. As you drive, you can maximise the range available to you by keeping the car in its most frugal eco drive mode and in the most frugal eco and charge zones of the main central instrument gauge. To the left of that circular dial, an information section of the trip computer screen has various selectable EV options, things like range and your current and average consumption, both in miles per kilowatt hour. And you can proactively charge your battery by increasing the amount of regenerative braking energy being harvested. There are 4 levels of deceleration regeneration, accessible by pulling on this left-hand steering wheel paddle. What about charging? Well, as mentioned in our design section, this Lexus has two filler flaps, one for a Type 2 charger on the driver's side and one for a fast charge CHAdeMO plug on the near side. If you connect via the driver's side flap using a domestic 13 amp plug, it'll obviously take ages, 19 hours to be exact. Most of the time though, you're going to be connecting up via a wall box installed in your garage. Two are offered by dealers, either a 7 kilowatt Centrica British gas one or a Lexus branded 22 kilowatt unit. The charging time from this kind of 32 amp AC 200 volt supply is 8 hours and 15 minutes. At a DC public rapid charging point of 50 kilowatts or more, it's possible to recharge from 0 to 80% in just 50 minutes. You can set charging times via the information screen options in the instrument cluster, which also gives you the option of setting a maximum charge level, as you might want to do if, for instance, you happen to live at the top of a very steep hill. If that was the case, you could set a slightly lower maximum charge level, then top it off with regenerative braking energy generated as you descended that hill at the start of your journey. Now, the other way that you can set charging times is by using the provided Lexus Link app, which also allows you to set charging schedules according to when the vehicle is next expected to be driven or when energy prices are low. Via this app, you can also defrost the windows and either preheat or pre-cool the cabin before you reach the car, so you won't have to spend climate system energy doing so once you're underway. Now, one nice touch, not common to all EVs, is that electrical features like the air conditioning and the audio system can be used as the vehicle is being charged. The Lexus Link app additionally allows UX300e owners to check battery charge and driving range and find public charging stations in the Lexus charging network. There are about 160,000 of them across Europe, with around 30,000 of those in the UK. When you arrive at one of these, you simply identify yourself using either the app or an RFID card before charging. By using the Lexus charging network, UX300e owners can do all their charging via a single contract and a single charging card. Now that means charging can be done in different countries without having to deal with different provider contracts and cards. You just get one straightforward single monthly invoice. What else? Well, as with rival models, all UX300e models fall into base VED Band A and will attract just 1% of benefit in kind company car taxation in the 2021 to 2022 tax year. Insurance is Group 39A. There's the usual 3-year vehicle warranty and a 5-year 100,000 mile cover on drivetrain defects. Battery is covered by its own 8-year 100,000 mile warranty, which can be extended to 10 years and 600,000 miles if the customer includes a battery health check as part of each vehicle's service. As usual with Lexus, residual value predictions are stellar. After 3 years and 36,000 miles, experts predict that this car will still be worth 53% of its original value. Why a full electric Lexus took so long to arrive is difficult to explain. Prior to the launch of this car, the Japanese brand had sold over 1.8 million electrified hybrid cars worldwide, 450,000 of those in Europe and over 130,500 of them in the UK. The perfect engineering base, you would have thought, to create an EV. Way back in 2011, we initially thought the CT200 hatch might be that car, but the opportunity came and went, and the advantage was surrendered to premium rivals. Most of whom today can offer EV mid-sized crossover segment competitors able to deliver greater driving range than is offered by this UX300e. Fortunately for Lexus, that isn't the be-all and end-all factor for all EV customers, and this battery-powered UX has lots of other attributes that might draw you to it. Drive refinement, a feature of course of all EVs, has been particularly well perfected here. And there's a beautifully crafted interior, impeccable build quality, and a collection of exceptionally helpful dealers to ensure ongoing ownership satisfaction. Plus, the convenience of being able to use the Lexus charging network can't be understated. All of this is added to the usual EV advantages: super low benefit-in-kind taxation rates, low running costs, and the kind of future-proofed feel at the wheel that makes you wonder why it's still necessary to burn fossil fuel in a car like this. There's an answer to that, of course. It's still necessary because motor manufacturers haven't yet worked out a way to make their current EV technology fully affordable. Hence, this BEV model's considerable price premium over its UX250H self-charging hybrid stablemate. Across the industry, that issue needs to be addressed, and quickly, if global climate change goals are to be properly realised. But with the might of the Toyota Motor Corporation now focused upon doing just that, expect things to change dramatically over the next few years in terms of EV value and driving range. As for the here and now, where does that leave us with this UX300e? For Lexus, is it too little, too late, or the start of an impressive electric vehicle dynasty for the brand? As with the EV industry as a whole, only time will tell.